the corporate media has broken their silence on Tara Reade. This includes the New York Times and the Washington Post. They have broke their silence on Tara Reade. Tara Reade, of course, is the person who has come out with an accusation against Joe Biden of sexual assault. And it was first, she first broke her story on Katie Halper's podcast, then later on The Rising with Crystal Ball and Seagar. And, we've covered this on the show before, and I've been pretty upfront about, I believe her. I think Tara Reade is telling the truth. I believe her. But nevertheless, it was ignored by the corporate media. And now finally, the corporate media is giving it a little bit of coverage. And here's what's going on so far. Let's start here. So this is what Nathan J. Robinson of The Guardian has to say. The Tara Reade story is in print in the New York Times today, but look how unfair to her the subhead is. She doesn't just say she told friends and family. 3 of them have personally confirmed that she did. All right, so here's the subhead from the New York Times print version today. Examining a sexual assault. Ex-Senate aide, which is Tara Reade, said she told friends and family of episode in 93, but co-workers do not recall. Okay, so you see how right away that's a little foggy and kind of misleading. Like that's a very sloppy subhead. So she told friends and family. What did the friends and family say, you ask? Coworkers don't recall. Those are 2 different groups of people. So right away, like she wants you to skim that and be like, well, like she's saying she told people, but nobody recalls it. No. She's saying she told friends and family. Coworkers don't recall. Usually when you say she said she told friends and family, you would say something like, but they deny her story, or they corroborate her story, or they do not recall, or and they recall, or something like that. But instead, they just go to coworkers don't recall. What about random passerbyers? What do they think? What about just pick another group of people in her life? Tara Reade was allegedly sexually assaulted by Joe Biden. She told her friends and family at the time of the incident, but her book club doesn't recall. Okay, well, but that's what about her friends and family that you just okay. So anyway, that's the subhead. You see how that's just a little confusing. Now, so let's go to the article itself, shall we? Let's check this out. All right, so let me go ahead and pull the article up here. I got to do it via a different window. Okay, all right. So check this out. Keep in mind that subhead, coworkers do not recall. Okay, the former aide, Tara Reade, this is from the New York Times, who briefly worked as a staff assistant in Mr. Biden's Senate office, told the New York Times that in 1993, Mr. Biden pinned her to a wall in the Senate building, reached under her clothing and penetrated her with his fingers. A friend said that Miss Reade told her the details of the allegation at the time. Another friend and a brother of Miss Reade's said she told them over the years about a traumatic sexual incident involving Joe Biden, Mr. Biden. Spokeswoman for Mr. Biden said the allegation was false. In an interview, several people who worked in the Senate office with Miss Reade said that they did not recall any talk of such incident or similar behavior by Mr. Biden toward her or any women. So in their own article, the people who Tara Reade claims that she told corroborate her story. They're like, yeah, she told us about this. But in the subheading, they don't put that. They don't put like, oh, and people confirmed her story. Friends and family confirmed the story. Friends and family, including her brother, confirmed that she, in fact, did tell them that. Instead, they just say, well, coworkers don't know anything. So right away, they're using their subheading to kind of deflect from what they actually found in their investigation. Now, there's a couple other interesting things at play here. And let's see. We're gonna go to a couple things here. First, we're gonna take a look at this article from the week. And let's go back over here and take that out. And then we have to go back over here. All right. So check this out. Tara Reade's sexual assault allegation against Biden got a New York Times investigation. A former staff assistant to Joe Biden, Tara Reade, has accused the former vice president of sexually assaulting her when she worked in his Senate office from December of 92 to August of 93. The alleged assault happened in 93. Biden's campaign says the allegation is false. A New York Times investigation found no corroboration outside of two friends, Reade told in 1993 and 2008. The Times spoke with both of Reade's friends, 7 other women who accused Biden of inappropriate touching, several other people who worked, including 2 interns Reade supervised. The newspaper tried and failed to locate a complaint Reade said she filed with the Senate. No other allegation about sexual assault surfaced in the course of the reporting, nor did any former Biden staff members corroborate any details of Miss Reade's allegation. That's because she didn't tell them. She told friends and family. So here, and we can revisit this. We've talked about this on the show in the past, but here's what Tara Reade is claiming happened. Tara Reade says when she took Biden a gym bag one afternoon in 1993, again, it was a situation so that it was just the two of them. He pushed her against the wall, kissed her neck, reached under her skirt, and penetrated her with his fingers, stopping only when she reacted negatively. She says she told her brother and mother about the incident at the time. Her mother is dead, and her brother, who has publicly confirmed part of her account, did not speak with the Times. So something that they leave out here in the article is that after she pulled away and responded negatively, Biden said, "What? Come on, I thought you liked me," or something like that. She still reacted negatively, wanted to get out of there. And he said, "You mean nothing to me. You're nothing," or something along those lines. They don't put that part in this retelling of the story, but that's part of it too. She told that story on The Hills Rising. She told that story on Katie Halper's podcast. I watched the interview with Crystal Ball in its entirety. I listened to the podcast with Katie Halper in its entirety, and I believe her. Doesn't mean it's true or not true, but I believe her. Okay, so they're saying that she has the right to be heard. So according to this article, she told her mother and brother at the time. Her mother's dead, and her brother has corroborated her story. So far, everybody who she has told has corroborated it, has said, yes, she told us that. Yes, she told us that happened. The friends that she allegedly told and her brother that she allegedly told, they all confirmed this. But none of the articles point that out. Instead, they focus on the fact that, well, none of the coworkers were saying anything. None of the other aides. And now they also mention the interns that Reade supervised. Well, let's go to this. Lucy. Let's go to this. Katie Halper points this out, staying on the theme of the interns that Tara Reade supervised. Lucy's really excited this morning. I'm not sure why. But here's a refresher from Katie Halper. Tara Reade accused Joe Biden of sexual assault and harassment. Biden has not denied it. His campaign has. But it's been confirmed that Reade was abruptly demoted. The campaign has not said why. Neither the New York Times nor the Washington Post asked Biden why. So here she clarifies. To be clear, 2 interns, that's what that article in the Week referenced, 2 interns confirmed that Reade was abruptly relieved of some of her duties. Both WAPO and the New York Times asked the Biden campaign for comment, and somehow neither asked why she was demoted. Or if they did, they didn't print why. So she was also randomly demoted, and no reason was given. So here's something else that has occurred since the publication of this article from the New York Times. And Washington Post put out something similar. This is from Democracy Now! This is a headline from a few moments ago. New York Times reports on Tara Reade's Joe Biden sexual assault allegation, but retracts mention of prior sexual misconduct. Okay, Tara Reade, who has accused Joe Biden of sexually assaulting her when she worked in his Senate office in 1993, has filed a report with the Washington, D.C. police. Although the statute of limitations has expired, Reade said she filed the report for safety reasons. Over the weekend, the New York Times published a piece in which several witnesses corroborate elements of Reade's account. So once again, the people who she said she told all corroborate her story. New York Times intentionally left that out of the subheading. Okay, the Times came under fire for then deleting a sentence in the article, which was also tweeted out detailing previous accusations against Biden. The New York Times originally wrote, "We found no pattern of sexual misconduct by Biden beyond hugs, kisses, and touching that women previously said made them uncomfortable." We found no pattern of sexual misconduct by Biden beyond, well, the patterns of misconduct we found by Biden. Not as bad as what Tara Reade's accusing him of. But yeah, there was other stuff. What a sentence. What a sentence. Let's read it again. We found no pattern of sexual misconduct by Biden beyond these patterns of sexual misconduct that we found. But beyond those, we didn't find anything else. Like, eventually it's like, well, besides this, and this, and this, we found all this, but, we didn't find anything else. We found no evidence that the Green River killer actually murdered anybody, except for all the people that he murdered that we found out about. But other than those people, we didn't find anything else. So we just found those people. That was it, though. We found no pattern of sexual misconduct by Biden beyond hugs, kisses, and touching that women previously said made them uncomfortable. This was published in the New York Times. This sentence was published in the New York Times. This could be a monologue joke on a comedy late night show. That's how desperate they are to try to cover up for Joe Biden. Which, you know what? And we're going to get into another article that really breaks down the New York Times article. But it is one thing to come at something from the critical lens of due process. That's what the media is supposed to do. That's what news and information is supposed to do. There's an accusation, there's a claim. Okay, let's investigate it through an objective lens and try to find the truth. But what the New York Times is doing is not an objective lens. You can objectively say that Tara Reade claimed that she told these people, and all the people who we could ask, that they couldn't ask her mom, she's no longer with us, but all the people that we could talk to corroborated that. That's an objective truth. She made this claim. It has been corroborated by the people she said she told. That's an objective truth. Now, the coworkers, they don't have any recollection. That's also an objective truth. It's also an objective truth that, hey, Biden has had other misconduct issues. He's had other issues with this. Not, we found no pattern of sexual misconduct by Biden beyond hugs, kisses, and touching that women previously said made them uncomfortable. Okay, so first of all, women in this sentence is plural. Hugs, kisses, touching that made them uncomfortable. That's misconduct, is it not? It wasn't warranted. It wasn't wanted. It was uninvited. That's misconduct, right? And it happened more than once. That's a pattern, right? So the person who wrote this sentence is either A, trying to get a spot on SNL, or B, doesn't know what the word pattern means, or C, is trying to sugarcoat what's going on with Joe Biden. And this actually isn't an honest investigation. This is actually propaganda to try to cover up for Joe Biden. Also, can't help notice the timing of when they finally broke their silence on this, shortly after Bernie Sanders dropped out of the race. Interesting. I'm sure it's just a coincidence, though. All right, so let's go to this one. This is from Reason, and this is breaking down the New York Times article. So the New York Times is extremely skeptical of Tara Reade's sexual assault accusation against Joe Biden. Imagine that. Now here they have the comedy submission to SNL. We found no pattern of sexual misconduct by Biden beyond hugs, kisses, and touching that women previously said made them uncomfortable. Again, that totally could have been like, so investigators on the scene said they found no pattern of sexual misconduct by Biden beyond, of course, hugs, kisses, and other things that made a bunch of women uncomfortable. Womp, womp, womp. Here's Tom with sports. This could totally be an SNL monologue joke. The mainstream media's silence regarding the former... Okay, it's finally broken. New York Times covered the assault. It's an excruciating matter-of-fact article, bereft of the emotion and rhetorical flourishes that have often characterized the Times' past reporting on Me Too stories. These were news articles, but it was not hard to detect an agenda, portray the accuser. Okay, all right. So what they're saying is they were more, they were a little more empathetic and outgoing for other accusations, but not so much in Tara Reade. There's no such agenda in the Reade article. The reporters come across as extremely skeptical of her, not without some justification, according to the article. The paragraph containing the news hook for this story that Reade finally on Thursday filed a police report about the incident contains this oddly placed reminder. This is an important thing that the article points out. Filing a false police report may be punishable by a fine and imprisonment. That's in the New York Times article. So like, she filed this police report. By the way, if you lie about something like that, you go to jail. Just say it, Tara Reade, if you're reading this. If you lie about something like that, you go to jail. We don't have an agenda or anything. We're totally being objective. So the New York Times, Lisa Lerer and Sydney Ember spoke with dozens of people, including many who worked alongside Reade and Biden in 1993, the year she alleges Biden committed the assault. But the only supportive evidence came from secondhand accounts of friends and family. No other allegations about sexual assault surfaced in the course of the reporting, nor did any former Biden staff members corroborate any details of Ms. Reade's allegation. That's because she didn't tell them. She never claimed she told them. Why do they need to point it out that way? Well, no other staff members. It's like, well, she also said she didn't tell them about that. So why wouldn't you mention that? She claimed she didn't go to anyway. All right. So, given how ridiculous the passage sounded to many readers, given how ridiculous, so they mentioned the comedy submission here. The Times found no pattern of sexual misconduct by Mr. Biden other than hugs, kisses, and touching that women previously said made them uncomfortable. Given how ridiculous this passage sounded to many readers, who are the readers where this passage didn't sound ridiculous? I want to meet them. I want to find a reader who read that and was like, that checks out. And they weren't watching a comedy show. Who would read that sentence? If you submitted this sentence in a journalism class in 8th grade, you fail. You would fail that class. Many readers thought it was ridiculous. Some of them were like, this checks out. Who are those people? Probably Biden supporters. Honestly, probably the people who uncritically support Joe Biden and shame anybody who's not willing to pick between an alleged rapist and an alleged rapist. It's probably those people. All right, anyway, I love that sentence. Given how ridiculous, editors swiftly removed without acknowledgement everything after Biden. And they also deleted this tweet. But boom, it lives on in infamy here on the internet. Okay, yeah, this is beautiful. I'm taking a screenshot of this. I am totally taking a screenshot, and I'm gonna tweet this out later. All right. So anyway, they deleted this tweet because I guess enough people realized they have editors at the New York Times, by the way, and I get it. They have an agenda, and clearly that agenda is protect Biden. But wouldn't an editor just see that and just be like, this is ridiculous. You need to delete this sentence. It sounds like you're submitting something for the Daily Show. Like, what are you doing? No editor. Anyway. All right. While the Times' dismissal of the existence of a pattern has attracted most of the derision, an earlier point is more obviously flawed. As current affairs editor Nathan Robbins pointed out, it is false to say that none of Biden's staff corroborated any part of her allegation. Reade has alleged that after she complained about sexual harassment, Biden's people punished her by taking away most of her duties, which included supervising the interns. Katie Halper points that out. No one asked, or the New York Times did not ask the Biden campaign. The Washington Post did not ask the Biden campaign why all that went down. Why was she relieved of these duties? They didn't bother asking that. The New York Times story did confirm that two former interns that Reade abruptly stopped supervising them in April. Now, as the article points out, this does not prove that Reade is telling the truth. We don't know. We don't know yet. I believe her. But of course, I got to be fair and say we don't know for sure. We don't know beyond the shadow of a doubt. And I at least acknowledge my own biases. I'm a comedian on YouTube who's saying, look, I believe her. I watched the interview, I listened to it, and I believe her. I think she's telling the truth. That's just my perception. I'm just one guy. But the New York Times can't even say like, well, we really want to we really want to cover for Joe Biden here. We really want to paint this in the positive for Joe Biden because we thrive on access and we thrive on maintaining the status quo, which Joe Biden would do in a way that we like because we're the New York Times. And we have no problem lying when it fits our agenda. That's why we lied about the Iraq war. That's why. This does not. Okay, so anyway, it's fine. So this is getting back to the article. What they say, it's fine to be skeptical of Reade. And it's more than fine commendable even for journalists to seek the facts and then refrain from making sweeping judgments when there isn't just enough compelling evidence, which is true. Yeah, you're a journalist. It's your job. You seek the truth. You do an investigation. You do an examination, but you don't blatantly misrepresent it through deliberately misleading subheadlines. And then you don't objectively say what you actually found. But the Times and other outlets are proceeding with a level of caution that's inconsistent with how they treated Kavanaugh allegations, even though the evidence was, this is according to the article saying they're comparing it to Kavanaugh. But here's the thing. It's not caution that they're pursuing at the New York Times. It's deliberate trying to sugarcoat what's going on with Joe Biden. I mean, it's deliberate. When you see a sentence like that get through completely uncritically, such a ridiculous sentence, like, well, they found no other patterns except for a bunch of patterns that they found. She told friends and family, but the coworkers, they don't recall anything. The people that she didn't say she told, they don't recall anything. She was relieved of these duties. We're not going to ask why. Why would we ask why? What journalist worth the salt would be investigating something like this? And you know that the people who she said she told corroborate her story. And you know that she was all of a sudden removed from a bunch of duties, including supervising 2 interns. And you know that there have been other patterns of unwanted kissing, unwanted hugging, all these other things that made women uncomfortable. They've all spoken out against Joe Biden. He himself has acknowledged, I need to be more mindful of people's personal space, or whatever, BS apology he gave. We all remember when that happened. And you wouldn't ask, why was she relieved of these duties? And you would have the gall to say, there's been no pattern here. We noticed no pattern except for the pattern that we're going to publish and say that we noticed because it's the truth. But we're going to start by saying we've noticed no pattern, and we're hoping you don't read past that point. This isn't caution. This is a deliberate sugarcoating, misleading an audience on purpose, hoping they don't read past that subheadline, hoping they just see, oh, no one recalls this. She's making this claim, but no one recalls it. And it happened in 1993. Why didn't she speak up, huh? Why didn't she speak up? Because, victims of sexual assault, they always speak up because they always feel like they're in a safe space to do so. Look at how she's been smeared. Look at how she's been smeared in shame. And then ask again, why didn't she speak up sooner? Because she was scared to. She talks about that. She talks about how she was scared to. And that's beyond common, which is very sad. I mean, when I was reading these articles, I thought about, I think pretty much everybody watching this or listening to this, you either are yourself or somebody who has been a victim of sexual assault. I know people who have been victims of sexual assault. And in my experience, none of them ever came forward because they were scared to and they were traumatized. Because we don't. And I think that's really what, movements like Me Too are all about, trying to make a society. Well, first of all, trying to make a society where there are less victims, obviously. but also, trying to create a society where victims feel like they can come forward. So New York Times, they broke their silence conveniently right after Bernie Sanders drops out. And man, why would you not ask? Why would you not ask? I mean, there's so many glaring, just either these are inept journalists to the nth degree, or there's some deliberation here that they're trying to sugarcoat it for Joe Biden, that they have an agenda, and this is not objective reporting, which it isn't. Why wouldn't you ask? Why was she relieved of those duties? No one asked that. Why wouldn't you ask that? Why wouldn't you say, oh, and by the way, the people who she said told about it, they corroborate it. Why would you instead then coworkers don't recall anything? Such a deliberately misleading subheadline on purpose. Why would you not do either of those two things? And then why would you print a sentence? We found no other pattern of sexual misconduct except for the pattern that we found. There's enough red flags here to lead a high school marching band whose school colors are red and white. Yet the New York Times didn't look into any of them. All right, there's the corporate media knocking it out of the park for you again. They always do great.
Get your news on with Ron. Don't you want to know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. Get your news on with Ron. Don't you want to know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. You can tweet me an article at Ron Placone. We'll go through it together and